What's up everybody, Matt Moran here for another weekly update. So there's tons of news to go over as usual, but the biggest news story this week is the Tesla Model Y that was just revealed. And as many of you know, I filmed these weekly updates on Thursday afternoon. The reveal actually isn't until Thursday night, so I'm going to do a voiceover portion to cover the Model Y, and then I'll come back here to cover the rest of the news here for this week. So Tesla revealed the Model Y, and it looks very much like the Model 3, just stretched upwards basically. And that shouldn't be a surprise because weeks ago Elon Musk said that the Model Y was going to share about 75% of its components with the Model 3. And so, predictably, it looks very, very similar. On the outside, it looks like identical headlights, taillights. Just again, the body panels are all stretched upwards. Has more of a humpback shape, much like the Model X, which to me, I don't love personally, but maybe it'll grow on me. I actually think the Model 3 is a good looking car, but the Model Y just not totally sure. But anyway, that's subjective. Some other interesting things here is that it's going to have seating for 7 actually, which is a surprise that no one I don't think was expecting, especially with the Model X offering 7 seats as well. So this is kind of cool, and although that if you want that third row option, it's not going to be available until a little bit later on. But anyway, there's going to be 4 different ranges here that are going to be available. First is the standard range. It does 230 miles. It has 120 mile per hour top speed. 0 to 60 is in 5.9 seconds, and those are going to be priced starting at $39,000, which is very impressive to only be $4,000 more than a Model 3 and have that extra space. Now, if you want that third row, it's going to be an extra $3,000, by the way. But they're still very usable. They got 66 cubic feet of space there in the back with the seats folded down. And so if you want that standard range one, though, you're going to be waiting the longest, like how it was with the cheapest Model 3. The cheapest version of the Model Y seems to be coming last. That's going to not be arriving till spring of 2021. So we're talking about 2 years away for that one. So got a long time to wait. Now, if you want to get one a little bit sooner, the other 3 that are coming are going to be coming in the fall of 2020. So you'll be able to get those in a year and a half instead, but still a long wait. So the next one up is the long range version. Now that is still rear wheel drive, has 300 miles of range for that one, 130 mile per hour top speed, 5.5 seconds 0 to 60, and those are going to be starting at $47,000. And like I said, fall of 2020 is when they quoted those as being available. Next, we have the dual motor all-wheel drive version. So the cheapest all-wheel drive version, it's going to be doing 280 miles of range, 135 mile per hour top speed. It's going to have a 4.8 seconds 0 to 60, and those are going to be starting at $51,000. So if you want a crossover with actual crossover capability with all-wheel drive, you're going to be spending $51,000. Still way less than a Model X, but still a higher point of entry. And then the top dog is the performance version. Again, very similar to what you're using with the Model 3. And so the performance one gets 280 miles of range, 150 mile per hour top speed, 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds, which is very impressive. And it's only going to be $60,000, so right around the price of a Model 3. So they kind of equalize a little bit closer once you get to the higher end versions, which is again very impressive. And those will also be available fall of 2020. And I mean, just obviously the Model 3 is a bargain as well for the performance you get, but 3.5 seconds 0 to 60 SUV for only $60,000 is a pretty good amount of value, I think. So yeah, it's gonna, I'm sure, sell a ton whenever they do finally go on sale. It's just by the end of 2020, when these things start showing up, you're gonna have a ton of stuff already on the market. The Mercedes EQC, you already have the Audi e-tron. There's going to be Volkswagen's I.D. Cross is going to be coming by the end of 2020, and we'll be competing at a very similar price point. And there's going to be a lot more competition in a year and a half or 2 years. I'm kind of shocked, since it's so close to the Model 3 with a lot of its components, that it's going to take an extra year and a half to get these ready to go. And that, with Tesla, sometimes they also have delays, so that could very well get pushed back. So, Elon Musk is expecting these to sell very, very well. He says it'll outsell, he thinks at least, all 3 other vehicles in the Tesla lineup. And that could very well be the case, but it's also going to be a lot tougher to do in about 2 years than it is right now to sell electric vehicles and kind of have a little bit of a larger market share. But anyway, let me know your thoughts on that. I think it is definitely promising, and so cool to see them finally show it. And some other Tesla news here to follow up briefly on last week's stories. You know, there's the $35,000 Model 3 that was revealed, and all the reports that Tesla was going to be closing all of their retail locations, or at least most of them. And they have since reversed course on that. And their decision is that they're planning to close only half of the stores originally planned to close and leave the other half open. And the only other way they're going to be saving money now is by raising prices on other more expensive Tesla models while retaining the $35,000 entry model, Model 3. So the more expensive models they're referring to are the higher end versions of the Model 3, the Model S, and the Model X. Those will get on average a 3% price increase. And that's how they're planning to, stay financially feasible here with the $35,000 car. So interesting to see that. Another EV, though, that's coming pretty soon here is the Volkswagen I.D. hatchback. But unfortunately, it's only coming for Europe. So this news only pertains to those of you in Europe. But those in Europe can pre-order one starting on May 8th. And the first deliveries of those are going to be starting in 2020. And the reveal won't be happening, though, until the Frankfurt Motor Show, which is happening in September. So you'd have to blindly place your order here in May if you want one of the first vehicles. But we do have a basic idea of what it looks like there with the camouflaged cars. The first ID electric vehicle we're going to be getting from Volkswagen here in the United States is going to be the crossover that's going to be coming at the end of 2020, supposedly. So interesting to see that. Fisker has also been talking about an affordable electric car that they have teased this week that they say is close to $40,000. And so this is an electric car they're going to be revealing on March 18th here, so next week. It's expected to go on sale in 2021, and it's supposed to have a solid-state battery, which is its biggest differentiator from Tesla and stuff. And Autoblog's reporting that Fisker's goal is 400 miles of range and a full recharge time in 10 minutes. And that is what they're hoping is going to give them a leg up over Tesla. We'll see if they can deliver on that. Supposedly they do have like 15 different patents for solid-state battery technology and stuff. So they seem to be developing all this stuff, but there hasn't been any kind of product with this yet, or even a running prototype, I don't think. So we'll have to wait and see. Fisker's been a lot of talk recently and very little product, but hopefully they can make good on those promises. Ford has revealed a few new details here on the Shelby GT500 this week. Unfortunately, we still don't have any kind of solid numbers about any of this, performance stuff for the GT500. But they have been showing off how the aerodynamics work this week, and they gave a few other numbers that are aero-related. So, for example, the car can produce supposedly 550 pounds of downforce, which is 250 more than the GT350R. They also mentioned the hood vent is huge, the biggest they've ever offered supposedly, and also includes a rain tray. And so this rain tray, they recommend keeping in whenever the car is going to be parked outside or if it's going to be exposed to rain. Otherwise, it should be removed for optimum cooling, and that was something that the engineers really pushed for. Even though it's a little inconvenience, they say that's the best way to go about it. The rear wing on this vehicle is also adjustable with a high downforce position and a low downforce position, and they say you'll get the best MPG with the low downforce position, so you only want to crank it up whenever you are on the track, and you need the best absolute handling you can get. Although I'm sure most GT500 owners don't care about MPG, and so whatever position looks coolest is probably what they'll have it in. But anyway, Hagerty has also confirmed that the top speed on the vehicle is going to be limited to 180 miles per hour, which really rocked a lot of people in the Mustang world for a couple of reasons, I think. First is the old GT500 was able to do over 200, or at least that was their claim. It's kind of debatable whether it could actually do 200 stock, but it was able to do 200 stock. And so now the newer, more powerful vehicle will not be able to do that. Will be slower in a straight line. And I mean, 180 is still plenty fast, and I think that's kind of been Ford's argument, is like most tracks in America you can't get to 180 anyway, but they're missing out on this. Now, I know their focus is to make the GT500 totally track-oriented and be an absolute handling beast, much like the ZL1, 1LE and stuff. That's kind of what their goal is. But you also have to think about all the people that modify these and will make them faster. And a lot of those people do, these like mile-long drag racing events and stuff like that, where you can get up to those types of speeds very easily and, much higher speeds, especially once you're modified. I'm guessing the governor can be removed with a tune or something, so those who don't care about a warranty can, throw that out the window and have an unlimited top speed. But supposedly Ford even says in a follow-up with Jalopnik that even their development engineers haven't tested the vehicle over 180, and that's the highest they could get on their tracks, which seems odd. You would think someone would have shut down an airstrip at Ford to just see what this thing does if it hits 200. Hopefully it doesn't just fall apart, but who knows. Anyway, a few other things here. Ford did give a little bit more of an elaborate response here to Hagerty. And so a few of the things they say here, they say first, the higher drag of the track pack version gives it a lower top speed. And so Ford didn't want the more expensive version having a lower top speed because, if you have the track version doing, less, well, it's more expensive. That wouldn't look very good from a marketing standpoint. Secondly, though, they do say the tires are part of the reason for the limiter. And the Hagerty article is quoted here as saying, when you combine high-speed cornering loads and extra downforce on a road tire, even one engineered for extreme performance like the GT500's optional Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2s, the physical demands are immense. A governed top speed ensures a bigger envelope of safety for those crucial bits of rubber. Okay, but then you still have the ZL1 that does 198 miles per hour. So I really want to be optimistic about the GT500, but it's coming out several years after. The ZL1's been king for a while. The Hellcats are king if you want straight line performance. And then, now you're going to have a lower top speed than all the competitors. You're going to have handling that hopefully is better, at least better than the Hellcat, but, maybe be better than the ZL1. We'll have to wait and see. I don't know. It's just really, it's not a huge deal. Again, no one should be doing over 180 in this thing anyway, so it's probably a moot point, but just doesn't really help Ford's cause of getting people excited for the GT500, really, in my opinion at least. Other Mustang news, though, very briefly, is a new Mustang was spied recently, thanks to my spy photographer Brian Williams, and looks to have a tweaked front bumper. You can see that turn signal area seems to be a little higher and closer to the headlight there than the way it is on the 2018 refreshes. And so this could be a light refresh, like a new front bumper it's basically going to be getting for possibly 2020 or 2021 model year vehicles. And this is, again, probably designed to keep the whole look of the vehicle fresh, because these 6th gen Mustangs have to last until the 2023 model year, which is when it's reported the next 7th gen version of the Mustang will finally come. So that's a long ways off. We're talking about 4 more years of this body style. And so, that certainly makes sense. There's also rumors that this vehicle that was spied could be the faster EcoBoost version that, was revealed in the VIN documents. It's supposed to be coming here for this next model year. And it's also possible this could be some type of hybrid version too. Again, these are just total shots in the dark. Who knows? Another vehicle that might be having a few people worried here is the mid-engine Corvette, which was spied again, and this time we get a slightly better look here at the headlights and taillights. But the most recent news here about the C8 is that it's been having some developmental problems. First was the electrical issues that were making news a few months ago, with the rumors being that the whole car had to be rewired and have a totally different electrical system. It appears the electrical issues still might be unresolved, though, because my spy photographer Brian Williams this week just caught the C8 again at a gas station, and when the drivers went to start it back up and drive away, the car was completely unresponsive, according to him, and it had to be towed away. So it wouldn't even crank or even try. So it sounds like maybe an electrical issue again. So not a great look to have your vehicle spied being towed away. Unfortunate that they're having those struggles. Also, Hagerty has uncovered a few other struggles possibly going on with the C8 development. First, they uncovered in their recent article here that the aluminum space frame was twisting under full throttle accelerations enough that the top brake light cracked at one point. So, that's some serious twist. And a user on the mid-engine Corvette forum claims that this is an old issue that has since been resolved, and so not an issue anymore, and we haven't seen any kind of issues, at least with the vehicles out running around. But then there's another post on CorvetteForum.com that claims to have insiders that told them that it is literally frightening to floor in its top trim of this C8, which is rumored to be called the Zora and could make between 900 and 1,000 horsepower from its twin-turbo V8. And so this person that said this claims that their insiders said GM had a team of lawyers brought in to advise on the legal perils of selling such a potent vehicle for street use. I get, 1,000 horsepower, especially if it's in a rear-wheel drive vehicle still, crazy fast, insane. But there's plenty of street legal vehicles over 1,000 horsepower, and some even have immediate torque with electric boost. You have, stuff like the LaFerrari, you have the McLaren P1, Porsche 918, you even have, the Koenigsegg's, Bugatti at least has all-wheel drive, but, there's lots of crazy cars, Pagani's, all these vehicles that are, around 1,000 horsepower. So this isn't like new and uncharted territory. I guess for a company like GM, it might be, and this could potentially make a vehicle this expensive or this powerful less expensive than all those high-end vehicles. So maybe that's where their worries come from, is, the ordinary Joe, relatively speaking, being able to afford 1,000 horsepower car. I don't know. But just kind of odd there. I'm sure it's super fast, but it seems almost like a far-fetched story. Other things here. Haggerty, in their article, they're believing that the C8 could be revealed at the 25th anniversary of the National Corvette Museum, which is going to be taking place at the end of August. And it would be a standalone event, and they would reveal the new mid-engine Corvette there. Timing-wise, that seems to line up too, because supposedly, in the Haggerty article here, it's saying that the pricing for these could start still between $60,000 and $70,000 for the base 500 horsepower LT2 V8 version. So basically like a carryover version of the current Corvette engine, just introducing the new body style. That could get you in, relatively reasonable prices, but then the prices go up from there quickly with those higher horsepower ones. There's supposedly going to be like a mid-level one, and then that top one that's crazy bonkers horsepower. And then there's also rumors of a hybrid version still coming, and they said that could even be have an all-wheel drive setup, and that would you'd have to sacrifice the front trunk or frunk with that front drive setup, but it could also give it all-wheel drive, which might be badly needed if the C8 is as wild as they're claiming here. So there's several versions coming, of course, like there always is for Corvettes. But the timing seems to line up with that reveal being at the end of August, because a document has actually surfaced on CorvetteForum.com as well, suggesting that production of the C8 is going to be starting in December. And again, that's assuming there aren't any delays, because again, if they're getting towed away while testing still, and you're 6 months away from revealing this, we'll have to wait and see. So might be more delays in the store, but hopefully not. Another interesting mid-engined supercar report. This one comes from Car Magazine, talking about future Ferraris coming here this year. According to Car Magazine, Ferrari's planning 4 debuts this year, in addition to the F8 Tributo, which was just revealed, last week here. So Car is reporting one of those cars is going to be the new, smaller, and more affordable sports car that Ferrari's been rumored to work on for years now. There was like a chopped up 458 that was spied running around a couple of years ago now. We haven't seen anything since then, but it could be something like that. But there are reports kind of all over the place, and kind of conflicts itself a little bit, I think, because their sources are claiming that whatever this vehicle is going to be getting a 2.9 liter twin turbo V6. I don't know if that's the same one from the Alfa Giulia Quadrifoglio or not, but in this application, 610 horsepower, 443 pound-feet of torque, and that would be on its own. And then there would be a plug-in hybrid assistance to go along with that to give it a total output of 723 horsepower and nearly 800 pound-feet of torque. But that would mean that it would be more powerful than the F8 Tributo, which is supposed to be more expensive and higher performing than it. So that doesn't seem like something Ferrari would do for sure. So unless that's like a higher performing version, or maybe that motor will be going into a version of the F8. I don't know. It's also possible it's going to be going into a version of the Portofino, and maybe that get a high performing version. Because if you remember, the California T actually debuted the twin-turbo V8 for Ferrari before it went into the 488. So it could be using the Portofino again as a test bed here for that. So we'll have to see, what they end up putting in what. But Car is saying that the V6 is going to be revealed in May, whatever it ends up being in. But a hybrid V8 is also rumored to be dropping in May as well. So that could be going in a version of the F8 Tributo. So maybe the base little small car will be getting, a non-hybrid version of this, twin turbo V6, and then a hybrid, could be put onto that for higher performance, but then also a hybrid could be put onto the F8 to give that more power. So see how this is like getting complicated. But other stuff here. So they're reporting there's also going to be this new flexible platform for a mid-engine car above the F8 Tributo, so some higher performing different thing, and that's supposed to be focused on track performance, and that's something that is going to be getting this V8 hybrid tech as well. So we'll have to see. There's other debuts this year that are going to be more casual and GT based, but the Purosangue SUV that they're planning, that actually isn't supposed to arrive till 2022 at this point. So that's a little bit further back. But Australian website Which Car actually was able to interview Ferrari's Senior Vice President of Commercial and Marketing, Enrico Galliera, I think is how you pronounce it. And anyway, he gave a little more clarity about all this confusing reporting going on. So he says there's a new front-engine hybrid architecture for a host of new cars, including the Purosangue SUV. We are developing some products that are designed to give the same emotion as a Ferrari, but with this design that is more elegant, more for everyday driving, in order to attract those people that maybe are not considering to buy a Ferrari because they are not willing to have a highly sporty car. So in a way, we are trying to have an offer that is capturing both opportunities. So I think what he's describing is the Portofino. That's basically what that car is designed to do. It's a retractable hardtop. It's heavy, but it's not supposed to be a crazy sports car. It's supposed to be more comfortable, lifestyle Ferrari. So I guess they just want to expand on the Portofino, but I hardly see anyone buying Portofino. Same goes for the Californias. Maybe I'm wrong. I haven't looked at the numbers recently, but I don't think they sell a ton of those. But I guess maybe they want to expand that. I don't know if that means 4 doors or, other stuff. But the GTC4 Lusso is another model they already have. So I don't know where they're going with this, but that's straight from a Ferrari executive. So we know this new stuff is coming. So we have to wait and see how that pans out. Autocar also interviewed Maserati's CEO, who revealed that the Alfieri sports car that they've been revealed several years ago, but it's been delayed over the years. That's going to be finally debuting in its production form at next year's Geneva Motor Show, but it won't go into production until 2021 or 2022. And he also elaborated here that the main launches for new products are in 2021 to 2022, and by the end of 2022, we will have a completely new range. For each and every lineup, we will have a full battery electric version. Not only that, but at least one. So all the new models coming are going to be getting electrified with either a mild hybrid, plug-in hybrid, or full EV versions. And that's going to be coming for both like the Ghibli, the Quattroporte, and the Levante, as well as the Alfieri. So they're all going to be getting some type of electrification. They'll still have gas engines in a lot of them, but they're going to be doing a lot of electrified stuff as well. So anyway, interesting to at least now have a timeline as far as when to expect all that. And the CEO of Fiat Chrysler this week, Mike Manley, sat down with Auto Express and did an interview with them here this week and revealed some info about the coming Jeep 3-row SUVs. So there's going to be 2 of them. He elaborated here, gave a little more clarity, saying one is the large SUV segment. There are relatively few competitors in there, but it could be a great segment for Jeep, and will bring back the Grand Wagoneer at that time. So the Grand Wagoneer is going to be the one that's going to be the full size. It's going to be probably sized to compete with stuff like the Ford Expedition, Chevy Suburban, all those really large truck type SUVs. And then he continued on by saying, then the second is a 3-row Jeep, which will technically play in the same segment as Grand Cherokee. So this means, it's going to be a smaller but still 3-row SUV, mostly designed to compete with stuff like the Ford Explorer, the Chevy Traverse, Honda Pilot, Subaru Ascent, Kia Telluride, Hyundai Palisade. It's just a ballooning segment right now. And so they went in on that as well, since right now the biggest thing Jeep offers is the Grand Cherokee, which is only 2 rows. And so he says, we'll have the choice of Grand Cherokee or a different model. So that's suggesting this isn't going to be any kind of Grand Cherokee derivative. It's going to be a completely separate thing. So it's likely this is going to be a version of the Grand Commander, which was revealed and is for China, but was spy testing here in the States as well over the past year several times. And so That seems to fit perfectly. I think that's going to also be running like a 2-liter turbo, or at least it does in China. So it could be a good competitor for some of the, imported 3-row crossovers and stuff. So that's most likely what I'm banking on as it being, I don't know if they're going to call it the Grand Commander, but I would assume that vehicle is going to be brought over here. And then the Grand Wagoneer is going to be a totally separate thing and be huge and and probably pretty awesome. So anyway, it's reported in the past that the first 3-row, whichever one comes first, I don't think it's clear yet, but whichever one comes first is going to start production by the end of 2020. And they could come around the same time, I think it seems as well. So we still have about a year to wait for that. Although we could see a reveal by the end of this year, that'd be a little early, but probably not till next year. McLaren has revealed the production version of the Senna GTR. Now, we saw the Senna GTR at last year's Geneva, but it wasn't like a full-on production version. It was a prototype, but now we see the production version here, which is basically pretty similar, but we do have a lot more details than we did back then. We know they're making 75 of these, and they're all sold out already, of course. It's not street legal. They're about $1.4 million each. And as you can see here, it gets more aggressive aero to make it, according to McLaren, the most effective aero performance for track driving of any McLaren automotive product. Downforce is over 2,205 pounds, which is 442 pounds more than the regular Senna, which already had a ton with its huge rear wing. Compared to the regular Senna, the GTR is 22 pounds lighter, 1.3 inches lower, the front track is 3 inches wider, and the rear track is 2.7 inches wider. It gets 19-inch center lock wheels running Pirelli race tires that are 285 wide in the front, 325s in the rear. Brakes are forged aluminum monoblock calipers that are 6 piston in the front, 4 in the rear, and it's on 15.4-inch carbon ceramic rotors. And so it also gets a new and simpler suspension setup similar to the GT3 cars instead of the more complicated one of the regular Senna. And it also gets 25 more horsepower than the regular Senna as well. So, cool for those. They're going to be driving these around racetracks, the 75 lucky owners. Sounds pretty sweet. For some much more affordable and attainable sports car news, though, Gordon Murray, the creator of the McLaren F1, the original, has talked with Road and Track here about his second sports car project. And so last week they had a story about how he's doing an F1 successor vehicle, and he's doing that with his own company, and so you can go back and watch last week's video for a summary of that, or go read Road and Track's article about it. But this week they're talking about his small, affordable mid-engine sports car that's going to be similar in size and price to like a Lotus Elise or an Alfa Romeo 4C, which is very promising. This whole little vehicle sounds really cool. So it's currently codenamed T43 iStream SuperLight, which is quite the mouthful. And according to the report here, it should come to the US actually too. So there's hope for us here in the States. And we'll use the same 3-cylinder turbo engine from the new Ford Fiesta ST actually, but with a little more horsepower for a total of 215 horsepower. And I know that might not sound super impressive, 3-cylinder turbo with 215 horsepower, but this car is supposed to be about 900 pounds lighter than a Fiesta ST. So if you think a Fiesta ST is already fun, remove almost 1,000 pounds. This is what we're talking about here. The vehicle is planned to weigh only 1,870 pounds. Now, I don't know if that's dry or wet, but anyway, it's going to be very quick with a power-to-weight ratio very close to a Lotus Elise, which we haven't had here available in the States since 2011, at least new. So Murray's quoted as saying, this car will, while being small, will be usable every day. You can get in and out. It's got a roof. It's got air conditioning that works, sound system, sat-nav, airbags. And so, it's going to hopefully be a little more livable than a Lotus Elise is. But while it's going to be close to the size of the Alfa Romeo 4C, its wheelbase is actually going to be about 5 inches longer than the Alfa. So I guess that's how they get some more increased interior room there. It'll also get a 6-speed manual too. I don't know if that's the only option, but he definitely is committed to doing a 6-speed manual for higher driver engagement, which is awesome. Especially considering everyone was bummed with the Alfa only having the paddle shifters. Lastly, he says it's going to start under 40,000 British pounds, which currently equates to about $53,000 here in the States. So 53 grand, I mean, yes, you're going to be having mid-engine Corvettes and stuff coming here in the next year or so. But that's still, otherwise that's a good bit cheaper than like a Porsche Cayman and stuff like that. So I think it'd be a very competitive price. And so, I'm not sure how soon this is going to be coming, though, because Murray is quoted here as saying he's in no hurry. So not sure when this will arrive, but looks pretty cool from the teaser image as well. So cool to see that. Buick has given the LaCrosse a mid-cycle refresh here for the 2020 model year, but it's only going to be available in China since the LaCrosse is getting killed off here in the US after the 2019 model year, sadly. And it's a shame because that refresh looks really sharp to me. But anyway, cool to see that for China. Cadillac this week revealed pricing for the XT6, and so it's going to be starting at $53,690, including destination, and that's for a front-wheel drive version. All-wheel drive is an optional extra. If you go for the XT6 Sport trim, that gets standard all-wheel drive, and it's going to be starting at $58,090, including destination. And so, I mean, even fully loaded, I can't imagine these things going too far over 70 grand, and considering an Escalade starts at 75,000, should position the XT6 very nicely and give it some breathing room so it won't be cross-shopped against Escalade too much. Should be a pretty good option for a lot of people that want something larger than the XT5, of course. And anyway, ordering is going to be opening next week for these, so interesting to see that. Some not so great Cadillac news, though, is that like Audi, they're planning on putting extra numbering on the back of their vehicles, according to Car and Driver here. So, starting with the XT6, all 2020 model Cadillacs will get numbers that roughly represent the torque in Newton meters. So, this is doesn't make much sense to me. So, they're doing this to supposedly give a clear understanding of the power differences across the lineup. It just seems confusing, and I don't think most Cadillac buyers care about power output anyway, and if they do, they're buying a V model or something, most likely. So anyway, Cadillac's president says the power these days with electrified assistance and everything is all about the torque, and that's why they're highlighting torque with these numbers. So basically, they're going to be, showing the torque in Newton meters and then rounding up, and that's what the badges are going to. So, for example, the XT6 makes 271 pound-feet of torque, which is 367 Newton meters of torque. Then Cadillac rounds that number up to the nearest 50, meaning the XT6 will get a 400 badge on the back. For a vehicle with 271 horsepower, it gets a 400 badge on the back. Makes no sense to me. I mean, I get how they get that number, but that just seems like it's not relevant at all. And then all Cadillacs will be getting these types of badges other than V models. The V models thankfully won't. To further complicate it, if it's a turbo model, it's going to have a T attached to it as well. So I don't know if it'd be T400 or 400T or what, but I don't think people buying an XT6 care about that, and they don't need to show off the badge on the back. And the XT6 only comes with one engine, so there's not like a difference between getting like a faster one or a slower one. They're all going to have a 400 badge on the back, so what does it matter? I mean, I don't know. I don't get it. Anyway, moving on, Infiniti has announced this week they will quit selling cars in Western Europe next year and also will quit producing the Q30 and the QX30 by the middle of this year. And both of those are built in England, and so they're just cutting off all their England operations as far as production and also as far as sales. And so for us here in the US, this just means we're not getting the QX30 anymore. Again, I don't know how many people will be upset about that. For Europe, this isn't much of a surprise, though, especially considering Infiniti sales are down almost 50% in that region, with only 5,800 cars sold last year total. So very small and shrinking, it seems. So that's why they're pulling out. Infiniti says they're doing this to focus on North America and China, but also because the Western European market is very competitive, especially when you're not a German car company. And so I think this also could be a timing thing too, because the current QX30 is based on the Mercedes GLA. The Mercedes GLA is getting an all-new version here this year, and it depends, I guess, if Mercedes and Infiniti are still working together, but if they are, I'm assuming a new version of the QX30 would have to come as well based on that same new platform. So it could just be the QX30's reached the end of its life somewhat, at least here in the States, and so that could be part of the reason for the turnover as well. But we'll have to see. There isn't any kind of promise of a new QX30, so we'll have to wait and see. Audi this week has outlined many of the vehicles they'll be revealing here this year, and there's a lot of them. So first, for the performance models, they're going to be launching 9 S models, and 4 of those are going to be RS or R models. And so 3 that they named already so far are the RS6, RS7, and RSQ3 are all coming this year. The Q3 will also get a Sportback version. That's one of the other models. And then the last R model, you know, if they already showed 3 of the RSs and they said R or RS, that means the last one's going to be an R. Could be a new R8 or a version of the R8, but that's cool to hear. And they also revealed that the redesigned versions of the A4 and the Q7 are coming. I think they're just mid-cycle refreshes, not all new models. And there's also going to be plug-in hybrid versions of the A6, A7, A8, and Q5 all coming as well. So in addition to that, there's also going to be a Sportback version of the e-tron, which we've already seen. And so they say overall there's going to be 12 electrified models available by the end of next year and 30 by 2025. So it's going to be a busy year for Audi here the next couple of years. Lots and lots of new stuff. But that might not be the last of the new models, at least here for the US, because although the Avants are available overseas, we don't get them here in the States other than the All-Road. But Audi this week strangely tweeted on their US site a summoning circle, apparently summoning Avants here in the US. A strange marketing thing. But the main rumors here are suggesting that the A6 Avant and the RS6 Avant are the ones that we'd be getting. And that would make sense considering, you know, like Mercedes offers the E-Class wagon here in the States still and the E63 wagon. So I could see how they want to compete with that here. And, you know, those probably do pretty well, although they're definitely probably not huge demand. But that's awesome. I mean, the more wagons, the better, in my opinion. So I think that's pretty sweet. It would be nice to see an A4 Avant as well, too, to have a lower price point wagon. But we'll see. I'm guessing we'll see soon what Audi's up to. Who knows what they're doing with this marketing campaign. But hopefully we find out soon. Car and Driver has a new report this week talking about the future of Acura and their models coming up after they visited Acura's design studio recently. So they're reporting here that Acura will bring a near production ready version of the Precision concept to Pebble Beach in August this year. This would be replacing the RLX most likely, and that's kind of what their goal is. It's going to be, you know, less boxy, you know, more of a four-door coupe, but could be their new flagship sedan, which would be awesome. And so Car and Driver even is speculating, saying it could potentially resurrect the Legend name, because apparently the Pebble Beach display for Acura is going to be all about history and, you know, what Acura has done in the past. So we'll have to see. They also say that next-gen versions of the TLX and MDX are expected to arrive by the end of this year or early next year for 2020. And there's going to be Type S versions of both of those. We've already seen them both spied running around. So that sounds promising and exciting. And they even say there's a possibility the ZDX could come back as well, which is like a coupe version of the RDX kind of from about 10 years ago. And I could see them doing like a coupe version of the RDX or something, calling it the ZDX. That would be fun. But they didn't give any details on that or when we would see something like that or what it would be. But anyway, interesting to see that. And be sure to head over to Car and Driver if you want to hear the full report on everything they talked about. And for the last little bit of future car news, second last story here. For Nissan fans, I know there's many of you that comment, and so I wanted to highlight this. The Versa Sedan was spied this week looking like a shrunken Altima. And thanks to my spy photographer Brian Williams for spotting this running around. And so, yeah, you know, it's going to be probably one of the most affordable cars in America, so it doesn't look super exciting. But should have some nice improvements there from the Altima. You can see on the inside it's going to have a better touchscreen infotainment system that looks bigger. And most likely we'll have a carryover powertrain as well, although there's no details or even rumors about what it would be. I don't think too many people care, honestly, as far as powertrain and stuff. Not going to be fast, we know that for sure. Could be a 2020 or 2021 model year vehicle. Not sure which way it'll go. But anyway, interesting to see that. And finally, the last news story here is it sounds like even James Bond is going to be driving an electric car here pretty soon. So this is according to a report from the Sun newspaper, which is claiming that James Bond is going to be driving an Aston Martin Rapide E in the new 007 movie that's scheduled to start filming soon here with a release date of April of 2020. And this is supposedly because the director is very environmentally friendly and really likes the idea of electric cars and stuff. And thankfully, Aston Martin has something to fulfill that want, and so that's supposedly what it would be. And it would be kind of a bummer if he's driving a four-door. It'd be cool to see maybe just them doing an electric version of the Vantage or something if they really want to have an EV. But they're claiming they're going to do the Rapide E, and it's going to get all the high-tech gadgets and will be in the center of an incredible action sequence in the movie. Which sounds pretty awesome to me. It should still be sweet even if it is electric, and could have some cool futuristic sounds and stuff. You know how Hollywood's very good at coming up with stuff like that for EVs. But I'm still hoping he drives the beautiful DB10 again, because that's such a beautiful car, and it would be a shame if they just only use that in one movie. But yeah, so anyway, interesting to hear that. But yes, that's it for all the news this week, guys. Let me know your thoughts and everything in the comments below. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Take care.